right, everyone. Welcome to a new module where we'll go through some new techniques when it comes to working with VR and an XR origin rig. So remember that we have this XR rig, which is kind of a representation of the player. Here in exercise one, so I already have this rig here, which has a camera and then has a controller, and I've already set up locomotion to be able to do turning and moving and teleporting. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something called tunneling. Tunneling is when you do a certain action, um, you can have it's a combination of like a script and basically kind of like a model that kind of appears. And the idea is that it kind of blocks out some of it, sort of focuses on a particular area, or hence the word tunneling. The reason why you might want to do this is some people say that when you do tunneling, it reduces motion sickness because you're sort of putting on blinders, kind of like the way a horse might have blinders on themselves. So that's what we're going to do in this exercise is add a tunneling effect to my scene here. So I have a scene and we're going to walk towards this monster. We also have some teleporting that we can apply this to as well. So what I'm going to do is um, the easiest way to do this, I'm going to be honest, is we're just going to use a pre-made tunneling service essentially. So once again, you should have the samples folder downloaded. Um, this is XR 307. Once again, if you are starting a project and you want to make sure you have that sample folder, that is under Package Manager, and then you want to go under your XR interaction toolkit and then samples, and then you can download the starter samples, which I already did, but you can do that, and that would give you this folder. And if you go inside of it, what we're going to do is we are going to go to where it says tunneling vignette. Okay. And this is actually all the stuff kind of related to it. This is like a model, and there's some code here. They have a special shader that's like semi-transparent and some other things here. So rather than having to build all this from scratch, we're just going to use this pre-built one, which already has a script applied to it. And usually you want to apply this to the camera. Oops, I already had it applied, but I would take this and I'm just going to drag it right to the camera so that it becomes a child of it. Okay. All right. So what that's going to do is it's going to add this is going to be my tunneling. And what I'm going to do is so that we can actually see it before we actually test it in our headset, under preview and editor, I'm going to set under default parameters. And when I do that, you can kind of see what it does. It kind of builds this kind of cone, kind of a cone shape that has like kind of a hole through the bottom of it, right? And so it's the special material here. It's actually a special VR material. And it's being applied here. And I'm going to go to game, and you can actually see what's happening now. See how we're getting this kind of haziness around, right? And so if you want to start playing around, you can do that under default parameters. So aperture means the size of this. So if I make it a smaller aperture, I'm pinpointing it. A larger aperture means, it's not as quite as, the less of it's being blocked out. Feathering is like how crisp the edges are. So like here I get this nice like James Bond style thing, right? I can also have like a really hazy edge here. This when it says ease in time is like how long do you turn or do you move before the tunneling kicks in? So what this is saying is essentially it's going to happen after about a third of a second. If you want to make it longer, I could make it like 1 second or two, which means it would wait 1 second or 2 seconds before it kicks in. So you can play around with timing. This is the color of it. So you can see I'm doing red. So I don't know, maybe your character's in rampage mode and you want it to be red or something, or you want this nice angelic white or something. I'm just gonna keep it the black for now, okay? So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to turn this off. The reason I'm turning it off is if I didn't do that and I previewed it, it would always be on. And I don't want it always on. I only want it when we do certain actions. Okay. The actions I want for right now is I want it to do it when we turn or when we move. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to decide under locomotion vignette locomotion vignette providers. I'm gonna click this little plus, and what I'm gonna do is click on locomotion because everybody's doing locomotion. All right, now what's happened here is see how it says continuous move provider? Let's just hypothetically say that's not the action I wanted to do. You could actually click right here and you can see how it's set. These are all the various providers that I've actually already added to my locomotion, including turn, move, and teleportation. Okay, so it all corresponds to that. So if you're not seeing the one you want, it's because maybe you don't have the move applied or you don't have the turn applied. So make sure those are applied first and then do this. So I'm going to do it to move, and I'm just going to keep this enabled. And then that basically means we're just going to use kind of the default settings, which for now is fine. And I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to do this for the turn. So I'm going to click here, bada bing, bada boom. Okay, now this is turn. So what this means is anytime locomotion turn is, we're using the button to use it, what would happen is this will kick in after a third of a second. What this is saying is under ease out, meaning like how long does it take before it goes away? So if I were to stop moving, using the move provider for a third of a, if I stop moving after 1/3 of a second, it would go away. Okay. Then the same for turning. If I turn about a third of a second into turning, it's going to kick on. And if I'm not, if I stop, it's going to wait a third of a second before it turns off. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this and run it. Okay. And I'll show you what it looks like in the headset. And you should see it working. Okay. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to talk about how we can also do this for teleportation. All right, everyone. So I'm in this world here. Now I have one controller set up or one raycaster. And I do have a forward, backwards, and a turn. So I got a monster here, and I'm going to do what everyone should do when you see a monster, which is, of course, running towards it. And you're going to see that I get this kind of halo around my vision, right? That's the tunneling effect. Now I'm using the move, and I'm going to do the other thing you should do when you see a giant scary monster, which is turn away and run. So I'm turning, right? And you can see I'm also getting that halo effect. Okay. So that is the tunneling effect. Next, I'll show you guys how we can do this also with teleporting. All right, now we're back. And let's do this for teleportation. Okay. So this world is already set up for teleportation, I think. Is it? Maybe. Who knows? I'm just making stuff up. There it is. All right. This is set up to teleport, although actually my scene marker is actually blocking it. I should probably turn that off. But anyway, maybe I should turn off the mesh collider on that one. So you should be able to teleport. You can also teleport to this little, I made a little teleportation anchor here. And what I want to do is normally when we teleport, we kind of just like magically jump from one spot to another. And it's kind of confusing. That's why I never really, personally, I've never liked teleportating. I feel like it feels it's kind of, it doesn't feel natural. I mean, it doesn't because no one teleports in real life, but you know what I mean? It just feels like off. So we can actually use the tunneling to assist with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add teleportation, or we're going to add locomotion, and then let's choose teleportation. And let's do override parameters. Now, when it says override default, these are the default. So what I'm trying to say here is I want the settings to be different just for the teleportation, not for the rest of it. Okay. And what I'm going to do is for the tunneling, I'm going to turn this on just so let's turn it on for teleportation so I can see what it looks like. This is specifically for teleportation. I can see what it looks like for each one in case I wanted to see what it looks like in those areas. Here you can see it's a little bit deeper. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on this option that says ease in time lock. Okay. What this means is that it's actually going to it's going to sort of, it's going to kind of animate in, and I want this to be like a really small kind of thing here. Okay. And the reason why I'm doing this, I want to create like an effect where basically it kind of closes in and then comes out. Okay. And how we're going to do that is I'm going to go to my controller and we're going to go. Oh, I don't remember. We're going to go under teleportation. And we're gonna, so normally your delay time, which means how long does it take to actually delay. I want to set this equal to whatever time delay this is. The reason why we're doing that is so we want it to animate before it moves, because otherwise, if we didn't, what would happen is it would move and then animate, and that's too late, if that makes sense. So we kind of want these times to match up. And so I'm going to set this to like 0.3. Okay. And I'm going to go back and let's test that. And I believe that should work. If not, I'll come back and I'll let you know. But I believe that should work. Okay. And yeah, this is how you can do this quick, easy little tunneling effect. You don't have to do it. It's a new thing. This didn't exist in the last version, so I haven't really played around with it. But from all the sort of videos. All right, all. This is the second part where I'm using tunneling in addition with teleporting. So we know how to teleport. I'm using my ray. I'm just going to point at that back corner roughly, and I'm just going to press on my trigger. And when I do that, see how it gets that kind of like zoom. I call it the Looney Tunes effect, but it kind of closes in. And I think that kind of creates a more natural kind of thing, when you're kind of, especially when you're jumping between things, where it's like, if I were to jump up from here to up there, it's a little confusing, I think, for people, because it's like, but if you kind of do this tunneling effect, it kind of creates a nice little transition, so it feels a little bit more natural, kind of like the way we would sort of dip to black in a movie or something like that. But anyway, this is just kind of letting you see, there you go, there's my monster, boom boom. All right, so that is using tunneling.